Hello, this video is to show you on how you could get data for your projects. For some students that will be working on different projects, whether this is for data analytics or you are working on your master thesis or a doctoral dissertation, this would actually help you in terms of thinking about where would you get data from. So there are various ways, various databases that you could use for your data, depending on your field of studies and depending on what type of data you have. But generally, my most preferred one is the Kaggle. So I've used Kaggle in the past and I've actually used it with multiple other plugins, but you don't have to do any of those plugins here. You could actually get data that is currently available here. For instance, if I'm doing research on a particular topic and I want data that data that have already been used by other people, and those data usually come in a very crisp form. So you basically reuse the data, and maybe your research objective or your research questions are completely different, which is completely fine, but the data is addressing multiple issues. Or basically, you are training a particular model or system, and you need data to do those training. You could also get this data from here, and it's completely free. So right here, you can find data sets. And when you click on that data set, and right here, you see the data set. When you are on Kaggle, you have to, sometimes you have to log in with an email to be able to access Kaggle. So I currently log into Kaggle. So when you come back here and just going to refresh this to know that I'm logging. Okay, so you come back here and this is your home. And from the left side, you go to this option here where you have data sets. And this data set, depending on the data you're looking for, you kind of search here. For example, the last data I searched for was healthcare fraud detection data set. And basically, I found a couple of data here that I could use for audit training. So basically, look at all this information here. You could see that this data here are already arranged. So the person that posted this data here may have collected the data from Medicaid and Medicare database. And basically they've used the data and put the data here. So if I want to download this, what I would do now, click on this option here and download that. So there could also be other data sets that you might be interested in. Let me go back and have a quick look and say, let's say we're looking at housing. I'll search housing, and then you see California housing prices, housing prices data set. So you kind of find all this information. But it's always good to be very precise because this one tells me that this is data set. Again, I'll have a quick look at that to be sure that this is actually data set that I could use. It's a data card. Yes, so this is relatively data set. So when you take this data, you have to look at the variables, whether the variables are consistent to your expectations. For example, we look at the number of bedrooms, area, the size, the prices of those houses, and then the number of bathroom. And then this meets your expectation, you could go straight away and download this data from here. Okay, you can expand that data to see more other variables. So we can really see all the variables here. They could be much more variable than you expect. So the only thing the one way you could address that to be able to see the variable, you scroll down to this part or you download the data and they have a look. One of the things that also tells me about the data volume is the size. So 29.98 is not really big data for me in terms of the type of research that I do. I always look at data that is above at least 1 MB. But the bigger the data, the much better for the type of research I do. But if you're just looking for data for training model, for any system training, this could be sufficient. And if you're doing basic projects for a course, this could also be a source of data that you want to take advantage of. Now, the other source of data is this one here, which is called the Data.gov. You could find all sorts of data here. For example, you might find the labor market data from here. We just call it primates. Great. So So this is going to come from Department of Labor, and it could also come from other sources as well. And then you go to this part here, you could filter the specific type of data you're looking for, spatial data and all type of data. So you find those information here. For example, this data is also available, or you could see the data set last updated March 23rd, 2026. So which is relatively very recent, if you like. And this data is available on SML, which is going to be compatible with many analytic tools such as Power BI, Tableau, and others. Okay, and this one is available on HTML. This is also compatible with um, Tableau. It's also compatible with Power BI and many other system tools. And this is available on Excel sheet. So you have all sorts of data here that you could just basically come here. And this is available on CSV. If you are using Python, for example, or other type of programming language, JSON will also be a good source of data that you want to look at, or you could get it on CSV and then convert it to this type of data file if that's what your system allows you to do. So this is very comprehensive, and usually you have federal government data and you have state government data here. So this is one source to go to if you're looking for data for your project. Another one that I will use will be the US Census. This comes with all forms of data and demography. If you are doing those research that has to do with housing level for older elderly people, younger people, um, you're looking at the statistics of cities and the age population of that city, the education level. This will be a great one to look at. And this is very important. You're looking at the poverty rates, those people living in poverty, those people living the statistics of different locations. You could also get some data from here with zip code, which is very important. So right here, you could find a lot of data for your project. Another one that I will look at, which is interesting, is actually Google data. And many people do not really know this. Google do have data sets. So when you go to Google data, search, you have a lot of data from here. You could search any type of data that you're looking for. Uh, I might be looking at sales revenue. So when you type that, you could see different statistics that Google is going to provide you where you could get this data from. So it does give you more broader perspective, and it could come from multiple countries. You could also narrow down on specific type of download formats you want, specific type of data you want, the provider of the data, whether you're looking for free data. So this is a whole lot of database that actually refer you to where you can find specific data, especially when your interest is to get data without paying for the data, which is going to be completely free data that you could use. For example, I may be looking at Kaggle. Again, it goes back to my favorite one, which is Kaggle, advertising versus sex revenue. So you see all this kind of information here. Commonwealth Bank, and you have the sales revenue data from Kaggle again. So you have all these heaps of data which Google is going to take you to be able to source this data. This is just one. World Bank is another one. If you're looking at more like economic data, World Bank database would give you that information. The only thing with World Bank is so much you have huge of data, very significant one, but there's so much focus on economic outcome. If you are in science, another one to look at is the NASA database. So this comes with all kinds of scientific data, comes with geographical data and space data. So it's huge database that you could take advantage of. And this data usually comes in a very large quantity. So if this is something that you are interested in, this is something to explore. So it has about 36,039 data sets that you could find from here. Mass data, earth science data. So this is a very huge one that you want to take a look at and see whether this is going to meet your project needs. So for some of the projects that I work on, they are relatively compressed projects, and sometimes it requires me to collect data from multiple sources. So I could get some of the data from Kaggle, and I could get some from other sources like the World Bank, and some could also come from Department of Labor. So one of the things that I do is to integrate those data. A spreadsheet is very good in getting those data together for me. I could also use Power BI to integrate the data in a accurate way so that the data are corresponding to each year and each subject. So that is one part of the data setup and data cleaning. Is quite a time-consuming process, but it is realistic. And some projects you have to complete, you can't just pick up one data from Kaggle and run it and say, yeah, I have my results. Most academic research or most scientific research, even business intelligence um, projects will require you to collect data from multiple databases, and then you kind of integrate and clean up those data, and it's ready for you to go. But I hope this video helped you in terms of thinking about source of data. This is one thing you should think about first before you even choose a project topic. Where would data come from? Can I have access to data? If you are in accounting like myself, one of those that you might want to take advantage of is um, my check sec EDGAR, so that is going to be another one. But the problem with this data set, it requires a lot of cleaning. If you are good in using um, HTML, or you are good with a sensible business reporting language, then this becomes a very useful data. But again, yeah, I forget to mention this. Let me quickly refer to this. This is a GitHub. GitHub is also very good when it comes to access to data. That is because most of the developers, they have some of this real data, actual data from companies that they use to train their system, and they sometimes post that data here. Now you'll find the data here as well. That also includes financial data. The only problem with this is some of the data they have here are dated and probably not going to meet the currency of the type of data you need for your analysis. But again, it's also one to look at. You might actually find some more most recent data. But if you're looking at companies' financial statements, you're looking at profit, income statements, you're looking at cash flow, you're looking at trying to calculate free cash flow, liquidity, owner's equity, return investment, those kind of analysis, this is one to go to. This is the EDGAR, the Security and Exchange Commission, EDGAR database. You have to be able to know how to use um, the data that comes in a sensible business reporting language. Sometimes they come in a code, and then you convert those codes to human readable data. You could use Python for that. That's one of the system to use. But you could also manually collect the data from each financial statement. There are companies that have already done those data collection for you, and they just have to buy them. The only thing is that they can be expensive, relatively expensive. If you just want single data with number of companies that you want to collect, they might charge you as much as $2,500 to $4,000 for the data set. But if you have to check, if you work in a large organization, they might have subscription to some of these database that you basically just have to take advantage of. But again, I hope you find some insights from this recording, from this video. And if you do, just give me a thumb up, subscribe to this channel so you could see more of the videos that will help you with your projects.